Watchmen is one of HBO's newest shows, and it is created by Damien Lindelof, and the show takes place 34 years after the events of the comic book series. It's set in the comics' alternate history of the 20th century. Vigilantes, once seen as heroes, have been outlawed due to their violent methods, and in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a white supremacist group known as the 7th Cavalry are inspired by Rorschach's writings and Masked Image, and they begin to wage a violent war against minorities and the police that enforce special reparations for victims of racial injustice. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like on this video, it really does help a lot and I would greatly appreciate it. The original Watchmen maxi series, published in 1987 and written by Alan Moore, is often considered one of, if not the greatest use of the comic book medium. In fact, my trade paperback copy of Watchmen has some quotes on the back cover of it, and these quotes actually share my opinion on this comic book. And one of those quotes is actually from the creator of the television show Watchmen, and he says, "Watchmen is the greatest piece of popular fiction ever produced." Now, you flash forward to 2019 and you have Lindelof and HBO who are creating not a pale imitation of the comic book, but an in-universe successor, which in comic book form is something that we've seen done before. In fact, there have been numerous prequels, sequels, and spin-offs of Watchmen, ranging from everything from comic books to video games. But I don't think any of them have done so quite as well as Lindelof has done here, because with Watchmen, he has managed to not only capture the mood and feeling of reading the graphic novel, but has simultaneously taken the story in a new and an inventive direction. I feel pretty confident in saying that 2019's Watchmen is straight up one of my favorite pieces of entertainment that I've consumed this year. Music, TV shows, movies, it doesn't matter, this is one of my favorite things. Because in my opinion, Watchmen just so happens to be one of the greatest first seasons of television that I've ever seen. The show starts off with a bang and is relentlessly engaging until the credits start to roll of the season finale. And that just made me love this show. Every week I would look forward to a new episode, and every week I would theorize on what happened next. I was so consistently engaged watching this show. And that's particularly true with the final 5 episodes of this show's only 9 episode season, which had me just waiting, begging for more Watchmen every week. And there are a lot of factors that contribute to that. For one, I really like the performances in this show. Regina King as Angela Abar gives one of my favorite performances that I've seen from her in her career. And I do think the same could be said about Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and Jeremy Irons, and Gene Smart, and Tim Blake Nelson. Everyone is casted so perfectly to fit their characters, and thankfully the characters that they are portraying in this show are so fascinating throughout the entire duration of the program. The way Watchmen gives information about these characters is so incredibly clever. Episode 6 is a prime example of how this show is slowly able to just peel back the layers of each and every character in the show. And not only does it work in respects to the show itself, but it also works in paying homage to the way the comic book is formatted. Because in Alan Moore's book, sometimes you would have an entire issue dedicated to one character, issue number 4 being my favorite example of this. And the show works in the same way. Episode 3, 5, 6, and 8 all shine a spotlight, particularly on one character, and allows the audience to dive headfirst into them. And it's totally evident in watching this show that it was created by people who not only have a deep understanding of Alan Moore's graphic novel, but a deep appreciation for it as well. Because this show, like the comic book that it is a sequel to, is highly influenced by the real world events that are happening outside of the television show or the graphic novel. Which is why I'm consistently blown away that there are people who can read the Watchmen comic book, then watch this show, and then are frustrated that this show is too political. And I think the same could be said about Star Wars and a lot of other things that come out nowadays. People seem to be frustrated that these are inherently political, but it's kind of like, where have you guys been? These things have been political since day one. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you think that Watchmen is about cool people wearing cool costumes who do cool stuff and beat up bad guys, then I think you kind of missed the point. And it's because Lindelof is able to use elements in our current political climate to inform what happens in this show, and it's not a detraction that this show is relevant, it's a good thing. And the same can be said about Alan Moore's Watchmen. It's not a bad thing to be relevant, it's a great thing. And I know there might be some people who are asking whether the television show or the graphic novel is better, and although I do think it's pretty clear that the graphic novel is technically better, for myself personally, I think I actually prefer the television show, which sounds kind of like blasphemy, I know. And I think that is largely in part because all of this is new, right? I mean, when I read Watchmen back in like high school, I had a familiarity with the characters because of the Zack Snyder film. And when I read the Watchmen book after seeing the movie, I was able to appreciate it more for the themes and the bigger ideas in the story as opposed to the story itself. But with HBO's Watchmen, this is all brand new. We are introduced to fascinating three-dimensional characters who are all given an opportunity to grow and evolve, and who are juxtaposed to one of the most riveting television shows that I've seen in quite some time. I've seen some people online who suggest that we shouldn't have a season 2 for Watchmen, at least for a long time, and although I definitely can understand the merit of that argument, I might be kind of selfish just because I want to see more of what this show has to offer because it is so damn good. I will support HBO with either decision that they make, but I would be pretty surprised if they were just like, no, we don't want to keep making money, so we're going to stop right there at season 1. Plus, on the bright side, if we get a season 2, that just means that we get more music from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who deliver one of the best scores that I've heard all year, period. So did you guys see season 1 of Watchmen? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, you can click on the link down below where you can subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie-related things. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.